It was a white Econoline van. We took the back couple of seats out, and Dad had rigged this, well, he had commissioned someone to build this full-size bed with a chartreuse mattress, and around the edges where the wood went, shag chartreuse. Sweet. We would be sitting in the Ford Motor Company parking lot, waiting for the last moment before Dad could cut loose and we could head on the road. We were headed for Florida. We were driving through with one stop, which I'll get to later. But the most of our trip, we were with extended family who lived on this huge plant nursery. And it was several days worth of feasting, of course, and horseback riding and going skeet shooting. And then we would go in this 1950s pickup Jeep, an old Army Jeep, and if you were over the age of 10, well, that's not true. If you could reach the pedal, you could learn to drive it. And we would go all over this 1,800-acre plot of land and have adventure upon adventure. But always, it ended with midnight mass in the little tiny family chapel. It wasn't a chapel in the property, it was in town, but there were 10 pews on either side, and not very wide ones. You could fit one family tightly, and so we were all packed in like sardines, and it was very solemn and very uplifting and moving until the gecko started moving along the wall. And one little giggle moved into a hole rippling out. It was kind of a disaster. But then, at 4 in the morning, or maybe sooner, Dad would wake us all up. On Christmas morning, we'd get up at that hour, and we would get tumbled into the van, where their stockings were hung on those little hooks inside. I think they're for hangers, but they worked really well for... Anyway, we were exhausted. We were too tired to even look, because we were old enough to be tired. And so then we would drive the next stretch down to southern Florida, and that was really the real gift. When we got down to southern Florida, we had this extravagant experience. It was a beach club and tennis club. My dad loved to play tennis, and in the middle of the winter in Michigan, you couldn't do very much of that. But wait, I forgot an important detail. Back up. So underneath this bed in the back, with its shag chartreuse, it didn't actually take regular suitcases. But what did fit were liquor boxes. So we would pack our clothes in liquor boxes, and they would slide very nicely, and they would stack underneath there. It worked really well. Okay, now we're back in southern Florida. It's this really fancy place. It was a huge treat. And there were things like wait staff carrying around big boxes with warmed bread in them, just in case you wanted one during dinner. And there were these weird bowls at the end of the meal. We thought we were going to drink it, but it was finger water, apparently. Never had it since, never had it. Anyway, it was an amazing experience, but I can only imagine the people who were helping us to our room as pile after pile of liquor boxes got carted along. Memories of Christmases, of travels, of family adventures, of precious times. And I'm sure by now you're thinking, we have no baby Jesus that we've heard about, and we've heard about shag carpeting and these long trips. Where is she headed? And I'm headed right in the midst of our ordinary lives, right in the midst of those silly family memories, the good, the bad, all of it. You see, John's prologue gives us the really big picture. In the other Gospels, we have at least the beginnings of life for Jesus, some as infants, others a little older. But John's prologue starts huge, starts with the Big Bang, starts with the ongoing creation, the rippling out of the gravitational waves of ongoing creation, of a mystery too wide and big and powerful for us to really even fathom. That is the Christ. Because spirit can't be visible to the eye. And so the Christ is the shorthand for all that is shot through with spirit. It is the first incarnation, creation, to say that it's all precious, it's all beautiful, it's all worthy. The second, Jesus, the human being, is the Christ. But we would be silly to conflate the two, as we often have done, either Jesus the Christ as in first name, last name, or synonymous. But Jesus was a human being who was born, who grew up, and he died, and he rose again. The Christ is what John's prologue is pointing to. The Christ is this incredible, bigger than we could possibly fathom mystery that in a way of a reduction sauce gets distilled down into the human being of Jesus, the Christ. A friend of mine asked, what is the point of Jesus? Why? I said, it's because Jesus shows us what it's like to live fully open to that incredible mystery of love, to that which is the force behind the universe that cares about you and about me and our silly car rides and our crazy families and our adventures. Everything matters. All of matter matters. All of it. But tucked into this beautiful prologue is a long-standing misunderstanding. It's understandable. How many times did I use understanding anyway? It's a long day. You see, Jesus and his apostle John were Jewish, and they spoke in Aramaic. And that language and worldview is very different than Greek. But by the time this gospel's written, it's written in Greek, which makes sense in that larger kind of way. But it doesn't, in the sense that you're trying to relate one culture into another. It's like when you merge families, and one family has one way of seeing things and doing things, and the other has an entirely different one. It takes some translating, doesn't it? Well, so here we have this prologue. The light shines in the darkness, and the darkness does not overcome it. The problem is, in an Aramaic worldview, all words that have to do with light or day or night and darkness have parts of the other in them. So for example, when you speak about any segment of the daytime, in that word that describes that segment, it has a partial balance of dark in it. And every word that talks about nighttime has some counterpoint of a light reference in it. And so when we read this out of a Greek understanding, oh yes, the light shines in the darkness and the darkness does not overcome it. It stamps it out. And it has created a whole lot of us and them, which we tend to like to do anyway as human beings, and to project onto others what is more nuanced. But the Aramaic understanding is more like this: the light shines in the darkness, and the darkness does not overcome it, as the two play together and shadows form. You see, none of us is all light, and none of us is all dark. It's far too easy to project the darkness out. and it leads to so much destruction. The Holocaust is a poignant, powerful, horrific example of an attempt to project one's own darkness onto a people, onto another. But even that great darkness, which is so great, it's hard to wrap your head around, even that had light shining in and through. On a wall of a hiding place in Cologne, Germany, there was a poem. We don't know anything about the author, just the evidence of some unquenchable light within. And it goes like this. I believe in the sun, I believe in the sun, even when I can't see it. I believe in love, I believe in love, even when I don't feel it. I believe in God, I believe in God, even when God is silent. Darkness, light, the interplay. But I'm curious about the believing. Believing in that which we cannot see or hear or feel, but believing it nonetheless. And that's the third message of the prologue that I think is so powerful for us this day. There were many, it says, that didn't see, didn't respond. But anyone who received, who believed in his name, he gave power. I love that. He gave power to become children of God. You and me are given power. And it's not believe as in the fairy tale or the tooth fairy. It's believing in what is at the heart of the universe and what's at the heart of our lives. And at some moments, that's a question. It's an open question. For example, on our way down to Florida, we always stopped in Atlanta. Now, we hit Atlanta at like 2 or 3 in the morning. We'd all be asleep, except the driver. And we'd pull off the highway and into a little subdivision and up to a home. It was the home of Martha and Paul Vickers and their 3 children, younger than I. Dad and Paul went to college together. And you would think, like normal human beings, maybe the door would be left unlocked and we'd slip in quietly and go find a pallet on the floor someplace and not disturb anyone. No. We came in and the entire household woke up. We pulled out games and we played dictionary, all of us, at 3 in the morning. And then there was a feast, a great big Southern feast. And there was laughter, and there was reunioning, and there was silliness, until it was time for us to pile back in the van, renewed and refreshed for more driving. Out of the darkness came light and joy, and it's one of my fondest memories. We're stopping on the way down, by the way. But tragedy hit our family not long after that. So darkness once again. The question is, what is at the heart? darkness or light? Or is there something even more? Well, I look to Jesus as he is about to face his own darkness of the crucifixion, and he's turning to his disciples and his friends, and to you and to me. And he says, "As the Father has loved me, I too love you. Remain in my love. If you keep my commandments, you will remain in my love, even as I have kept my Father's commandments and remain in his love. I say this to you so that your joy may be, my joy may be in you, and your joy may be complete. And this is my commandment, that you love one another as I have loved you." That's what Jesus says is at the heart of it all. Earlier tonight with the children, I showed them this box. It looks like a box. It's a Christmas box, they informed me, and they're right. But inside the box is another box, and another box, and another box, and one more. Thank you. But now that you know that there are all these boxes in there, whenever you see this box, what do you know? What do you know deep down within you? That there's more. That is the message of the incarnation. That's the message of love. Yes, there is pain. Yes, there is struggle. Yes, there is hurting. Yes, none of us are perfect. But at the heart of it all, at the very core, darkness is the place that grace goes not to die, but to be reborn. And so I ask you on this night, if you will join with me in singing that wisdom scratched on the wall so long ago. I believe in love. I believe in the sun, even when I don't shine in. I believe in love. I believe in love, even when I don't feel it. I believe in God. I believe in God, even when God is silent. Merry Christmas.